Aloha, our beloved family.
Aloha, family.
It is such a deep honor to be able to connect with each and every one of you today. And thank you for those of you that are joining us, receiving this video as we share what's gone on the last handful of months and what is going on currently in our lives and this next transition as our mission has completed and now the foundation for everything can finally happen.
Yeah, we've been through quite a lot has been going on, especially over these last 6 months or so. This video definitely has been a long time coming, and we've really had to honor what has been going on, in our own personal lives and journeys and everything. So thank you for finding this video today, and thank you for being with us. We're just here to connect heart to heart, and we're just going to be speaking from the heart today. And whatever we feel to be shared, may it be shared with ease and grace in alignment to all that we are. May it be received through the heart, from the heart. And yeah, it's been a while, so it's really wonderful to also be back again, sharing together and giving some updates as to what's been happening in our lives and where we are now, and just a little bit into where we are going to be going moving forward. So, with that, I would love to just start off by connecting through our hearts before we start sharing and diving into stuff through this video, just to invite you to connect to your heart now as we connect to our hearts together. And with a deep inhaling breath as we breathe in, just allow that heart connection to expand, grow, and fortify. And may this establish a heart field that breaks through all barriers and anything of a lower vibration to that of unconditional love. May this heart field hold the field immaculate, coherent, clear, pure, sanctified, and consecrated always. In so much honor, reverence, and gratitude for all of our family who are here connecting through this video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So a deep inhaling breath in and expanding through the heart, breathing in. And we'll do a few of these. So another deep inhaling breath. And throughout this video, just seeding that gentle reminder to continue to utilize your breath. It is such a beautiful tool, and it will continue to hold the coherence of the field as well, so that we can receive and share together as a family in that heart-based field, centered in grace, in love, in joy, in peace, and in union.
Sula Mua Ura Akasha Raya Gaya Liara Maratata Amarea Alasia Matile Anta Antakarana Aka Akasha Eka Ekoshe Ea Ekoshe Anna Anna Ah.
So, what is this video about? Well, as I said, this has been a long time coming. There's a lot that has been going on, and again, as I said, over the last 6 months, especially, and really since November is where we reached a huge, like, breakthrough peak moment. This is also when, through the macrocosm, our entire collective went into that bifurcation transition process where we started to move into crystal spiral in real time. And so there was a lot that quite immediately and drastically shifted in November. And as I know some of you know, for those of you who also have been on this journey directly with us, in our containers or certain places that we've traveled, etc., to our brothers and sisters who have been on this journey with us through countless lifetimes, you are more aware of how much has been going on that led up to November and all of the work that we've been doing as a part of Guardian Mission. And so when we arrived to November, a lot of those pieces came to a completion. And this has been an incredible alchemical sequencing and process. Every single part that's played out to absolute perfection of being able to support in the reunification, in the liberation, and in the resurrection of all that we are. And so there were many missions that came to a completion as of November. And this is also where we were really getting initiated or beginning through a huge transition, as I said, moving into that crystal spiral in real time. So at that time is also when my beloved and I came to a completion with each other. And this is in relation to our partnership, our union. And it was like a closing out for me, anyways, in how I see it and understand it to be. It was like a closing out of a cycle of cycles, so many missions, countless lifetimes of service, of an agreement that we had made together long ago, that we were going to help each other, which would in turn help all of our family, to be able to get back to the original system, to be able to get back to the original code, to the crystal spiral, to be able to get back to our home. And so there was a huge completion of a cycle of cycles, of a mission of missions, of a lifetime of lifetimes. And with this also brought us to a completion point of our union together, of an ending, actually, of our union together. And so with that, we really have had to give time and space to process this, because with this, since November to now, there was also a lot that got brought up with this.
And a lot that we needed to see clearly what was really happening.
Yeah.
Because with those of you that are aware of the targeting that has happened to our councils, lineages, and especially the unions, which I will touch base on a little bit more of the context with what we are allowed to share behind what Reza is expressing as well, just to give a little bit more depth to it. But yeah, just I'll add some stuff,
Okay.
whatever you want to share that I
Yeah.
want to take away from that.
Yeah, mainly what I'm sharing right here is just these last 6 months since that ended and that closed out. Um, you know, right away it was like, oh, we need to record a video. We need to let our family know, we need to share this. And then for me, tuning into it, because at that time, it did bring up a lot of emotion. It almost felt like something was dying, but in a bittersweet and celebratory kind of way as well. As much as it brought up grief and this tender heartache that we were processing, at the same time, it's kind of that bittersweetness of such a long journey now coming to a close. And so it did feel like a death of sorts, but at the same time it felt great. It was celebratory. And so there was a lot of different emotions that we were processing through back in November and through December. And then, especially, picking up from January until now, and coinciding with some huge planetary things that have been going on as well. I'm sure some of you are aware of, because there has been a lot that's been going on, especially as we are now in the solar year of 2024. So there's just been so much that we've been processing, and it just didn't feel like the right time yet to share publicly, to sit down and record, and until now. And so I share this because, we're not hiding anything, and we're not holding anything back. We have been through a lot, and we've been really wanting to honor what we've been moving through, as I'm sure many of you have been moving through so much in your own lives as well. Um, there's so much there, and we won't be sharing all of the pieces or details because some of it is sacred and intimate and personal. Some of it is not ready or meant to be shared yet, and so just out of honor and respect, what I will say right now is we have been through so much. There's a lot that's been going on over these last few months, and we've been really just honoring that and finally giving space, because we've been giving and giving and giving. I mean, we've been on mission for so long. So we've been giving space to the processing of that in our own time. And now I will say it does feel really good to finally be sitting here, getting to share, getting to connect with you, and finally announcing and giving the update of the status of our union, of where we are, what's happening, and how things are going to be moving forward. Because as of November up to now, Ryan and I are no longer in a union. However, that being said, we are very much friends, and we are a part of similar councils and lineages and groups. And so, as far as our service work and our service missions and everything that we're here to do, that will and is to continue 100%.
And we will also
And
share the next stages for the Solar Union Temple
yeah,
and everything,
yeah,
because
there's all the different
yeah.
pieces that are to be shared. So in a nutshell, that's really what this video is about. So if you want to continue on with us now at this point in this video to get more of the details, keep on watching, keep on listening, and again, just thank you for being here, for finding this video. And if you care at all about what's been going on in our lives, then keep listening. And I know, because the understanding of what a union is, Hyros, Gamos, all of these things has been significantly misunderstood across the board for
And
such a
that's
long
one
time.
of the things we're here to bring in the
And
clarity for.
so with this, as we're sharing, it's like it might not make sense at first. It might not even make sense now. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, I thought they were this, but now what? How does this make any sense? It's like I would say just release anything that you think or thought you knew or understood when it comes to what
Pretty much.
unfolds, why it unfolds this way, unions versus what is a hierogamic union, etc., and what Ryan and I are to each other, what we have been to each other, and what we are going to be, and how we are going to be serving and supporting one another moving forward. Because with this, it doesn't take away from anything at all. All of the work that we've done, everything that we've put in, has all been to get to where we are now. So there are no mistakes, there is no failure. It's all been an integral step by step, piece by piece by piece, to arrive and reach to where we are now, which is absolutely amazing. And I know that both of us are grateful for every experience and everything that we've been able to do and accomplish to get to this point.
That was beautifully spoken.
Thank you.
And no, we only share this because while we have been moving through all of our sides, we've had quite a lot of people reach out very concerned,
Yeah.
very confused, and there is a bigger agenda at play going through the planetary field right now to try to cause doubt and confusion to those of us that serve the authentic Christ missions.
Mm-hmm.
So this is strategic. This is happening at these times, and of course it's a perfect time to try to bring these in when we are going through the natural progression of the bioevolutionary pathways that are now made available for all of mankind because of the work that we and our family lines have accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, we want to help you clear out any confusion, and equally at the same time we honor you with all of the confusion. Well, if you were confused with anything that was triggering, with anything that made you doubt yourself, this work, us, anything like that, because our heart is with you, and we know what it can be like when we find someone that we feel that resonance as family with, and we trust, and when something doesn't play out the way we think or perceived it to be, or maybe that of which was true for one level of being now shifts for something that is more expansive. And when we've held on to that and we've based our beliefs or our identity or our connections around that, it can be very destabilizing. Which is why for us, with everybody that works for us, works with us, we always make it very clear. Like, yes, we are sharing and teaching from our gnosis, but we are running from a mission. We are running a mission. You must be in your sovereignty. Like, if you trust what we're saying, then allow that to be a catalyst to ask more questions so you can figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, we've always shared, we're not here for you to follow us. We're not here to tell you how it is and for you to just take it as is and it be so. You are your own being. You are your own sovereign pillar. It is up to you and your responsibility to ask questions, to practice discernment, to receive whatever it is we do share, and discern for yourself what is and what isn't. Discern for yourself what is true and what actually is in alignment for you. And so anything that we do express or share, we are always expressing and sharing to the best of our ability. We do our absolute best from only that of which we know, because if I don't know, I will tell you. if I'm not aware of something, I'll be honest. I don't need to hide anything, because I know that is going to further perpetuate the very thing that I'm here to end, to close out, to complete. So I'm here to show up fully transparent, honest, upholding integrity by being my authentic self. And so, with that, if there is something that I don't see, because we all have our blind spots, we all have things that we may not be aware of at the time. This is why we have each other. This is why we have our brothers and sisters in our family, to ask questions, to point things out, to communicate with each other, to work together so we can get there together. And this has been the main piece, because especially in dynamics of unions, especially in dynamics of groups and communities coming together, it's so easy to get caught up in the perceptions, in the lenses, in the viewpoints and perspectives. And as soon as there's some sort of conflict or dissonance or some sort of disagreement or something, it's so easy to point fingers. It's so easy to turn it against each other, to go into the warring of us versus them, which creates division, it creates separation. And then you have members of the family, becoming members or becoming enemies of that family, and you have individuals then abandoning, running away. Like, it just becomes really ugly, and then everybody's hurting, and it's not fun. So, that is so easy to do, and even in a dynamic of a union ending as well, and transitioning, and so much shifting with that in our communities as well, with everyone that knows us and is connected to us. It's so easy to perceive this as something destructive, and to then take sides and to turn it into this us versus them war. And we are not at war. This war is over. This war ends now. This conflict between masculine and feminine, like, we are healing this. And we do so by showing up, by coming back to our hearts and communicating and working together through whatever that is, so we can see the bigger picture to what this is serving and providing for us, so we can learn that lesson from it. So with Ryan and myself, with all of our brothers and sisters, with the community, this is what we are doing. We are coming together. We are communicating to each other. We're showing up through this video. We're sharing, where we're at, what's going on, and where there has been confusion, where there has been doubt, etc., communicating that through, so we can continue to help each other together as a family, and we no longer go into that warring dynamic. Rather, we transition and break through and can reach that union with all of us here staying together as one.
So yeah, there's something, a direct stream that I'm just going to share, that's going to highlight through a few core pieces. This is something that, because me and Reza do serve together on very specific high Christ councils. We are from different lineages though. Mm-hmm. And it is something that this has been part of the Unity project of what's been going on, and part of what we will go into, because although we have all experienced many great things, with what has gone on, the true unions at these specific primordial levels and high councils, even the true councils in their physical embodiments, and the things that these groups are meant to help be guardians and stewards of, to help this transition of mankind. That we're talking about, like, the keys to all of the planetary wealth reserves, like education, housing, healthcare, food distribution, like establishing the sovereign nations, all of this. Our keys, our unions, our councils, due to the warfare that we were under, it made it impossible.
Nearly impossible.
And when we say this, many of us have been able to come to different configurations or different partnerships. When we're speaking of landing the original councils back on this planet, not just the higher stations of identity, but those of us that are the direct incarnation of these different lineages. Mm-hmm. There was very specific technology, a lot of warfare that truly did make this nearly impossible. And even to the point where, if it did become possible, like, any of you that have been pioneering the path of divine union or Hyros Gamos have generally found the dissonance, the targeting, the attacks that comes in. And all we can say is that anything we've dealt with over the last handful of years, no matter how bad it seems like, does not even come close to the actual warfare and the impacts it makes to our bodies, to our mind, to our soul, to our heart. Mm-hmm. So this is why, there have been many, many times where we have been very close to complete missions through the Christ lines. We have had many different guardian groups and races that serve and stand with us that have also played a big role of this. And there have been many times where we have not succeeded in the last moments. And there's been a lot of people that have been authentically part of these, or are from ancestral lines that might have that memory encodement within the DNA. So it's still part of, what you can experience and access even if you weren't directly there. These can be very traumatizing and can make us feel like we failed, or like something didn't happen, or we've just been stuck and we haven't been making progress, and trying to take that hope away from us. Mm. But there were those of us that were already out of this system, that have come in and out, that we're observing. And we've seen that not one thing we perceived as a failed mission was ever really truly a failure. For it brought us one step closer to what has now been successfully accomplished after a very long time. Each piece, because once again, remember, beloved, time does not work in the way that we perceive it to be. So there's a lot of things that are happening simultaneously. And so with each one of us that served these missions, that carried the flame to just that much farther, that landed this next stage of technology, or sequenced the next stage of the code. And like, just as an example, just as one that's coming in, it's like Akhenaten, deemed a heretic, working with the same override solar technology that we finalized and finished out here this time. And he was working on Hyros Gamos as well, but wasn't able to complete the higher templates. And so it was then later on, during the Yahshua Christ mission, that, they were able to try to go to Amarna to get those, and, were raided there. And for those of you who know, the story played out the way it did. Seemed like a failed mission. Was just a finalizing piece for, once again, what has been successfully accomplished and landed at this time. Our family from beyond the system has always been here with us, and has been watching and observing and supporting us every step of the way, even during these perceived failed missions. And as our family observed, and as those of us that were blessed to be able to come in and out of this system, were able to see how close we were able to get with these missions. And at the same time, we observed what would cause these to fail, or what would cause these to not bring forth the full completion of what was truly capable at that time. We found a similar pattern that occurred where, in the final moments, everyone holding so strong to their mission, and in the final moments, when things were really getting tough, whether it was from fear, broken trust, feeling unsafe, wanting to feel like you're safe or protected, or your family is safe or protected. Many of these different things occurred that had us actually turn away or break away from our groups, our unions, our tribe, our team. And through this, we have witnessed time after time after time us getting so close. And because we know what is experience at this level of consciousness, there were very specific agreements that were made with the Christ High Councils and with various guardian lines to be able to bring in a series of covert operations and to begin to take very specific incarnates and embodiments from different universal levels of existence, from different councils, all that serve the Christ mission for the highest and greatest good of all, that knew through their initiations, that knew through the experience of what they've had and how they've held themselves in fallen systems, especially those from the Christ Melchizedek lines. And once again, there are many, many, many different Christ lines and guardian teams that have all been supporting this. And decisions were made, trust was given to allow these individuals to come into the system, because it was believed that even though most would give up or step away or break the sequence that was there, that no matter what, those of us that had already been through this, that are aware of this, like, we would stand strong through this every step of the way. Doesn't mean any of us are perfect, but we would be able to see very specifically the different timeline trigger points, the different experiences, the timeline loops, the points where the field fractures, shield fractures, unity code, whatever it is, broke. And we would be that piece to hold that line, to allow these pieces to complete in their sequencing. When we speak of the warfare that has been targeted towards the tribes of mankind, towards the authentic unions and councils that are here in service for the highest and greatest good of all life, and we say that it was almost impossible for any of us to come together, we have seen and witnessed, and we learned over time, over many seedings, incarnations, and timelines, what happens when these dynamics are at play, how it can tear apart and destroy unions, destroy families, destroy councils, the high level of corruption that leads to abuse and misuse of Stargate technology, planetary destruction, and chaos is generated. It's a slippery slope. And these mind control programs and insertations, these overlays, these identity theft, all of it, it is pretty insidious warfare when we actually not only remember what's already happened, but witness it right in front of our face, here and now. Our teams knew what had happened, and we were not going to allow this time to continue in the same way, because this is the completion. This is the end of everything that has kept us apart, and it is the beginning of the greatest family reunion we have ever witnessed. And collectively, we will finally be able to heal our hearts and heal these core wounds that none of us were meant to do by ourselves. We heal this as a tribe. We heal this as a family. We grieve and mourn together because we all were part of this. And even if you were not there at those timelines, you've got these records in your DNA. So each and every one of us can sympathize and empathize with each other truly. And our family that got really, really sick, the warfare that was put against us, their trauma, their loss of empathy, and the ability to connect or sympathize with their actions. It's been a tough journey for us all. And those that fell into the darkest polarities were some of those that were, many of which were actually some of the biggest light players. They got taken down and got sick. And a lot of the people that we view, or that you may have viewed to be unawakened, or like many call a non-player character, these are the ones that were also so traumatized that they haven't had the capabilities or been blessed like you or us to be able to even process or remember these things. So no matter how intense it is, no matter how difficult it is, know that it is a blessing if you are at the point to remember your own history. And you are being shown this to be able to heal this, because you are healing this on a large scale for yourself and many others. And so we just want to say thank you for that. And this time around, we have learned our lessons. We know how to play this game, and we know how to play it with honor and integrity. And we knew that in order to be successful with this, like if we were really going to land this, especially at this time with what's just, we knew what would be happening in the state of forgetfulness and the division between the tribes, we knew in order to land this that we would have to go about things in a very unique way. And there were a series of covert missions that were created to come in, to infiltrate into different groups, dark organizations, to be asleep and unaware of the true power of what they hold, to be sent into the places to witness, to watch, to be eyes for the Christ, to be eyes for the guardian teams that are here serving all life. And there were those of us that made covenants and agreements a long time ago to devote everything that we are to make sure that not only do we bring all of our family back home, but that we can actually come back with our beloveds. and any aspect of our beloveds or our family that got sick and fell, we would never abandon them, and we would find the antidote and the way to help. There are a lot of things that we can go into this, and there is much more that will be shared moving forward, because it is something, these covert contracts, you will not be able to see them. You will not be able to track them. You will not be able to be given access to what is going on unless you are at a very specific level that is very rare on this planet. And even then, nobody that has access to that is given access of the personal covert mission records, other than just the awareness of, hey, we can't share what's going on, but we know you are not the enemy. We see you and we will support you. So when others are confused or want to try to derail or defame or make you seem like you are the enemy or the fallen faction, we will be able to state clearly, coherently, confidently that of which is true, to be able to support, to make sure that we do not turn against each other anymore, that we can see clearly, we can learn compassionately from our hearts, and that we actually know where to direct our focus and energy to hold those rightfully accountable for their actions and crimes against the angelic tribes of mankind. So with this is something that goes deeply even into the dynamic between Reza and I. Our union, our mission, and what this really represents. Much of this is still personal, so there are only parts that we're guided to share at this time. But we want to share clearly that a long, long time ago, Reza and I, our teams and councils, made a decision and agreement, a covenant, to work together, to support each other, to be able to come together in union, to be able to actually rebuild the ladder, to build the building blocks, to restore the opportunity for us to come into our true unions, to restore the opportunity for Hyros Gamos, that divine union with yourself and your best friend that you may refer to as God or Goddess, to restore this capability and remembrance of what this is, and the ability for these level of unions to come together.
It's been a long journey for all of us, and all of it has been for the purpose of our own growth, evolution, and ascension. For us to understand what it means to be God, to understand what we are as the spark, the living flame of all that is, to understand yourself fully, totally, and completely. And in order to do that, we have this beautiful system here that we live in that is providing an incredible education platform for us to play out all of these different experiences and roles, to learn and grow and understand these things. And within that, we get to play out and fulfill these destiny paths, these missions, these roles. And so in this particular system, where there was a war, there was a huge fall that led to many other falls thereafter. There were massive cataclysmic events that occurred that fragmented our consciousness and that provided yet experiences and even more lessons for us to further understand ourselves and each other. We made this agreement with each other because we found a deep love. We remembered as well this deep love that we are at the core seed of what it means to be Christ consciousness. And we became each other's best friend. And so from that point outwards, through every lifetime played out, whether seemingly dark, evil, malevolent, whether seemingly light, bright, and supportive, through every role played out, that covenant was at the base foundation of everything that we have ever done in this lifetime, is still at the base core of why we do what we do. Because the reason why we are here, and I know we've been through so much, I know you've been through so much, to question, to doubt everything. You don't know who to trust. I myself have gone through this. He's gone through this. We've all gone through this, where we're questioning it all because we've been through so much and we don't know what to trust. Because there is things that have been artificially created. There are so many lies out there. There is a blending of realities that has occurred. There is an assimilation that has occurred with artificial intelligence. There are false realities. There are so many things that aren't real. But regardless, what is real, what is true, can be felt. It can be felt from the heart. It can be felt from the core of our being. And so through this journey, Ryan and I have been met with so much opposition, as so many others who have been here in service, so many others who put their life on the line each and every day to show up, to do something kind for someone, to protect the planet in some way, shape, or form. From the smallest things to the biggest things. For those of us who, from our hearts, are here to be of service to all that we are, we have been met with so much that has tried to tear us down, take us down, attack us, destroy us, and turn us against each other. And so,
to make us forget who has really tried to harm us and to make us think that those of our family that we can trust the most are the ones that have done this to us.
And so when we can remember that we are all family, and we can start to heal, truly heal, and feel this resonance from our hearts, to be able to trust again and know what to trust through that resonance. You know, there have been many times where I know I probably could have done better, but I'm human as well, just as you are. And so this is me here right now, showing up and owning up to everything, because what I truly care about the most, what I show up for every single day of my life, my purpose for being here, is for that love, is for that connection, is for the joy and the beauty that this world truly is and can be. And so through this journey with my beloved and I, you know, through all of these lifetimes that we've lived and experienced, through all these roles that we've played, we remember this original agreement that we made. And we remember what truly matters, which is family. And so, even through this video, we are here to end this us versus them warring and playing out, showing up fully from our hearts, sharing our story as we came to this huge completion in November with each other. Because guess what? All of these missions, even the covert missions and all the things that we went through, we actually were able to build this ladder
Yeah.
successfully. We actually have made it back to the crystal spiral in real time, fully operating again. This is a big, big thing. It means that there are going to be huge revelations, that whatever has been remaining, that has been in a distortion, delusion, illusion, or maybe just wasn't fully understood before, can now be seen fully for what it truly is.
And this will become increasingly clear throughout this year until we approach the summer of 2025. And there's some very specific pieces that go along with this too that can help further bring forth the understanding of what it is we've been holding and why it is that this completion with our union at this time, although rightfully so being heavy on the heart and something we've had to grieve, at the same time it is the lightest, most expansive, celebratory moment, because our hearts and what's gone on in this life is just one small facet of what we set out to do from the very beginning. And that is what we have stood for. That is what we have waited for. And we have completed this with grand success. And I'll touch on this again in a moment. I just wanted to add that in.
Well, and that's what really has brought us into a deeper understanding of everything and of each other, which is why it has taken until now, this month, in April, May, to really give space and time for that bigger picture to land. Because as we made and began this transition into this crystal spiral, into the reformatting back to the original code of this system before it fell, before we got into all of these storylines and wars and everything that occurred within that, we actually are here now back with this code, this base blueprint operating again. And now there is so much more that has been able to land. All of the other pieces to fill in the dots, to fill in the blank spaces, the blind spots, as it were. And so now there's just so much that fully is landing and makes sense, and this is what we have to share with all of you as to why these things have unfolded, even for our union, and where we are now moving forward.
Beautifully shared. So, just to give a little context on things as well, me and Reza, through these lifetimes and timelines, like what we have been in and out of has, let's just say, been a lot, but at the same time, nothing short of extraordinary. Because it is something that the only way we can actually shift things, resurrect things, or embody things is when we actually go through it and then take that on, embody it, move through that, and this time around make a new decision. Where everybody else fell off, you take that on, pioneer that alchemical code of how you overcame that. And that's how we begin to shift or correct or override things, us taking action and stepping into that. And ultimately, that's how we start to embody and integrate like a living state of gnosis within. And this is where our true power and our expression and our ability to serve comes forth. And it is this gnosis that we get to take with us eternally, wherever we go. Whether you pass body in this life or whether you reach transmigrational capabilities, like that is yours. And it is one of the most sacred things to hold. So this time around, the final round, because what's gone on, especially the last 2 millennia, set a very tricky foundation for us to play around. And every step that we have accomplished with grand success has been done with 100% integrity and honoring natural law and the rules that play, without ever having to pull anything shady, sneaky, or anything like that. Just like these, our family that is sick or fallen has had to do largely in order to even, bring forth what they were able to bring forth. So this lifetime, this time coming around in this incarnation, as we were meant to complete exactly what we have been able to do. Reza and I coming together on the initial covenants that were made, because I had sworn out of being in a union until my mission was complete. I genuinely had no idea how anybody could sustain any type of healthy relationship with in a union, with the dynamics of what we had to deal with and the level of sovereignty that was required. And when we came together, it was one of the most magical things ever. And it is something that, to really understand what it is, because there's much that we have spoken and shared about ourselves and the work we hold. And especially over this last year, detangling, going through everything to see what is true, and releasing everything that was ever thought to be believed, and looking and asking at every single angle, even the really hard ones that were really hard to look at. But being able to bring that all the way around to really have the understanding of where we are at and what was really happening, which is a big part of what we needed to do in order to resolve the big picture, and before we could coherently come forth and actually speak and share with you, our family, publicly of what has gone on. So when we came together, this is, we had never even, it was so new to us. A lot of the linguistics, the things that we speak of, what we work with, it was innately what we were involved with and part of, but it wasn't until we came together and started progressing through this that this started to open up for us. And when it came in for this sacred marriage, this divine union, it was something that as this was coming in, it was a little bit, triggering for Reza, being like, wait, marriage, I don't know if I'm ready to get married. And for me, it was my own version of the same thing, viewing these things as an initiation, but being like, oh, wait, yeah, no, like, I gotta do this before I have that. And it took a lot to be able to receive and discern and learn, like, yes, this is the union that you're meant to come into, and yes, this is part of the mission. And especially about 3 months before we met, after my 46-day initiation to bring in the Christ masculine rod and templates, and I was told it was time to start the resurrection of the Christ feminine. And I didn't know what that meant. We didn't have the conceptualization of lunar feminine, solar feminine, all of this. And but it's been one of many key pieces that we needed to witness, that we needed to embody and go through in order to be able to resurrect and reclaim this for the solar feminine and the solar masculine, and ultimately restore Hyros Gamos, that eternal union with you and your best friend within, and the ability for the true unions to come together. Because we always have to do everything authentically with where we are at. And we both stand and serve to be able to live a life of unconditional eternal love. Love and that joy and that happiness and that peace and the unity with our family, with our beloveds is what drives us. It's what, brings us forth to be devoted to this in all ways. And so in order to come together with this, our first templates, our first covenants, the stuff that we created together, was always that we would serve with each other as best friends, would be that we would be with each other on this mission until completion. And that depending on how things went or how successful we would be, that there may actually be something when we get to that time that would reveal that we were not meant to stay in union. That it could be, depending on how certain things would be, we may stay together. But if we were able to move forward with this, there would be something else that would be revealed. And we didn't know exactly what that meant, but we did know what we were here to do. As we moved through this every single year, there are many, many things, because the reason we chose to come together, very specific keys, very specific training, very specific education. Also, it's one of those things that we knew. Not only was it almost shielded, impossible to see the true unions, but if you can see through that with the work you've done and you come together without the proper support, everything that we've dealt with, and many of you that have been pioneering this as well, you know how intense this is. And which is to say, everything that we dealt with, no matter how intense was, is a mere fraction of the intensity and what actually comes up when the true genetic equals and true partnerships and everything come together. So this was a very, very delicate mission that Reza, I, and our teams had to run. There were things that could not be spoken until the right time. And we also had to hold this every step of the way until it was 100% secured and nothing could stop it. Because any type of breakaway and revelation of what we had actually created and brought forth would bring every group that still have any power to try to shut this down. And we have been witnessing this, especially over the last 2 months as we have been moving through, and one of the largest scale, most strategic attacks for an attempted shield split that we are just now coming out of to resolve this on a large scale. And this actually tracks back to something very, very, very ancient that's from the beginning of when this all began.
And I just want to add, as we're sharing this piece with us here, in no way are we the only ones that have missions or things like this. I just want to make that very clear, because I know that based off of what we're sharing, it can be very easy to assume or perceive that we believe we're the only ones, and we don't. Okay? There are many, 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 many who all are doing their part for the whole. And so as we're sharing, this is simply us sharing our part to that whole. So I just want to clarify that as we're sharing these pieces here.
And it's funny this is coming up because I feel like this kind of would have been like neat, like unnecessary to say, but it's been, so I'm sure many of you have seen some of the articles and conversations that have been going out about this week around one specific union in particular that speaks much of the same linguistics that our Christ family knows and holds, because it's part of who we are and part of our history. And it's something that there's series of unions and groups and leaders that represent the Christ in these ways, or these specific lines, that due to the tribunals that we've been overseeing and the processes that have been initiated, a lot of things are being revealed. And a lot of these things, even multiple of these unions, they're all, what is true is coming to light. And we will all see this. But it is something that there is no judgment, because there's always a deviation point. We are all human, so no matter how advanced we are, we each have the ability to fall victim to these traps, or to make, or to fall into these traps, or to make certain decisions that do not support us, or will take us in a different direction than where we may have been at a point in our path. And so, just to clarify, especially, there's a lot of things. We'll need to clarify eventually Hieros, Divine Union, the Christ, how many people think the Christ is a masculine, like these types of things.
There's so many topics of discussion. I'm sure we could dive into that. It'll be really fun to do so. Not for this video,
no,
though.
Definitely not. But I share this because it's something, in reality, for this next stage, nobody can do it by themselves. There's no one person.
We were never meant to.
Yes, but building up to get to this stage, there were many things that could be accomplished individually across the board. People, on their own sides, up in caves or mountains or, isolated wherever, like there were things that we could do in those ways. And it's true, as far as the overall mission that we've been working with, there is no one person. There is no one union.
There's no chosen one either.
Well, actually, that's debatable too, because like many of us were chosen for very specific roles.
Yeah, but I mean like the chosen one.
This is why
There's no single individual that's doing this for us all. We're all here doing this together. It's to be done together, because that is the way to establishing peace, love, actual unity. It's the community.
And this is
all of us together as one.
And this is why discernment needs to be so important. Nothing is as black and white. Somebody could be like, I'm a chosen one. And you could view that as them being their ego or not. when it could be the most humble thing that they're just accepting they are and are setting an example for you to accept yourself. But you could also meet someone that says, I'm a chosen one, super in their ego, thinking that there's a hierarchy, that they're above them, that people need to submit or come through them, or whatever it may be. This is just one small example, but it will be a huge key for what is happening now, what will be revealed to all of we as we move onward through this alchemical year. So there are to continue with just where we've been. It's something that the last handful of years in particular, and there's a lot with our missions that we've shared in pieces that though some of you are familiar with. But as we were approaching, there were very specific things, very specific sequences, and we had to run them in very specific ways. As we approached this last year, because as it was increasing and as we were stepping closer and closer and closer to the true earth alignments, and as we were deepening into our embodiment, and as more was being revealed, there was a lot that started to come in to show that, hey, you're going to be approaching a time where this mission has been complete and you're going to need to separate, reorient in your inner unions and sovereign path, and begin the next stage from there. Now, because of the attacks, because of the warfare, because of the anti-hierogamic the desires to try to split apart the unions and to block hierogamy from being able to happen, neither of us, we could feel what was strong, we could feel what was there, and we had to start looking at more of the earth-based, grounded, physical sides, not just what was here, because we didn't want to make the wrong decision. Mm-hmm. We've been so committed to each other. And it's something that neither of us wanted to leave or feel like we were abandoning or potentially falling into these traps that have tried to get us to break our missions, break our union. Mm-hmm. Because our union was a very specific and special divine union that was chosen for this singular purpose, just like many divine unions are out there and come together at times for a purpose or a mission. To progress farther into your hierogamic journey until two beings that are fully embodied in hierogamic union can come together as two wholes. And this is what divine union and hieroscamos is in its highest manifestation. So Reza and I, as we move forward through this, at the beginning of last year, at the beginning of the alchemical cycle, we are guided to not only with our group do something very special that will be completed now this month, but to create through the sacred sciences 2 specific templates. The first one in 5 years I've been able to apply to myself and for us to ourselves, to be able to reveal fully the direct records and memories of all that is true, with our unions, with our mission, with everything, and equally to initiate as we had to just embrace whatever was here in the present moment, to initiate that process that would either bring us together if this is what was needed at this time to allow us to blossom, or it would illuminate that of which we really needed to see what was true, and would perform a full, there are certain things we still can't share, but let's just say this will correct a lot of things and puts us into the proper arcs, angles, and configurations that allow us to come together with our unions, that allow us to now work properly on the true councils in order to create and to build what we as mankind require, and what all of the collective requires to go through this healing crisis that will begin as we move onward through this year and into the coming years.
It's basically like, because of what had occurred to this system, which basically deterred the original unions from even being able to come together, and also the tribes, the family members, the councils from being able to come together, truly see each other, to come together. We've been in an operating system that has digressed and been thrown off from its original coding and operation. And so this is where these series of missions, covert missions and operations, come into play. And so with Ryan and myself, we agreed that we would help one another. And by doing so, it would help all of our family. It would help everything, really. So it was a win-win-win scenario. But we made this agreement with each other to help one another through a series of alchemical sequences and missions that would eventually help, as everybody else has also been doing their part, help restore this system back to its original code, back to its original operation, back to what Ryan refers to as true Earth.
Yeah, nothing new
And
about this.
it's not new. It's back to the origin. It's back to its
Yeah.
original blueprint.
We'll co-create from there.
And so we did that. We did that. As of November,
Can I
hold on.
just...
As of November, this was a huge success. And now, as this revealing that Ryan keeps speaking of, we do understand that we are 100% a divine union as a part of the fulfillment of this sacred agreement, this covenant, this mission of missions, this cycle of cycles that has gone through many lifetimes to reach what we have now successfully reached. And now, in honoring of the completion of this, we helped each other so that now we can resume back on track in alignment to crystal spiral in real time to our destiny path, which naturally supports authentic Hyros Gamos as within, so throughout, and the coming together of the beloved counterpart that I myself and Ryan at some point, if now or wherever, however, in whichever way it is to unfold, as more and more is revealed along this journey to be, can now be made possible, can now come together, because what was stopping, blocking, and deterring it before is no more. And this is huge. And this is why, since November to now, this is part of why there's been such a calibration, huge transition, processes, and reconfiguring occurring as we continue to come into alignment to the crystal spiral, as we continue to come back into alignment to this original code and operating system once more.
And also, for those of you that connect to the mechanics, the crystal spiral is also only one terminology, because as we ascend into the higher octaves that this interfaces with, we do have different spiral configurations. Mm-hmm. So, and it's funny because, you know, the going in, it's by Reza bringing up this part in November again, and, you know, recognizing like what's been blocked and how now these things can happen. Like, I wasn't going to touch on this, but I just want to give you an example. We say how tangible things are blocked. You and many of us will all see more as the unions and councils start to come together, and as we step out in a unified front. It's going to be something you could feel the difference between the different configurations as we begin closer and closer and closer to this. Mm-hmm. Now, but this is something that you know, goes into just like a real world example, so to speak, if this makes it easier. And this is one of the things that's been on my path, and I'm sure many of you can relate. But this has been, you know, starting for me from around 13 years old. And then, you know, when I essentially started to move out and travel on my own towards the end of about being 15 years old, and around 15, 16. There was this dynamic of going out into the field and for many years learning, engaging, experiencing, only operating off I will not believe anything unless I experience it, feel it, and know it to be. And as this progresses, learning how all the things that are trying to be built for humanity. Even things like coming into direct free energy technology and advanced water technology, things that most people don't even believe to be there. And me learning, you know, their government contracts and all of these things that happen that suppress this. And me being like, this is ridiculous. We need to get this out. But I'm very young still with my learning process. I began a process where I would go out into the field as I began my initiations, meet with people, learn to see what was going on, witness the distortions and the codes and the blockages, and I'd be sent back to create a series of templates to restore this in the planetary body. Okay, I gotta double check sometimes. And so then I would wait about one solar cycle. Some of them were a little bit shorter, 3 weeks, or 3 months, 6 months, whatever I was working with at that time. And we would literally watch that physically play out through the bodies and grids. And then after, that cycle or after that year, get sent out again, test the field, start seeing where the collective is. Um, and it's funny because actually so many of the people on my Facebook were either random, you're either random ones, and myself was like, just add that person, or you added me. I didn't use Facebook. I used it as a mini collective representation of people all around the world to see as we were doing things, what would people say? Who would pick this up? How would this be? And then it was funny as we progressed into more stepping out, how many of you are just such a deep family that even this year I keep meeting. Like, wait, we've been friends on Facebook for like years? Like, what? But there's points where you reach, like, oh, that's the blockage. Oh, that's the distortion. And even when me and Reza come together, the same thing with our templates and our groups, creating a template to shield something, 60%, legit, 40% distortion. Watching it come online, oh, that's what we need to correct till we get it to 100%. Now, before I had met Reza, when I speak my 46-day initiation, there was a series of events that had happened over a period of years. I was not allowed to leave. I had to turn down almost every opportunity for money or abundance because it was too easy for me to get distracted. When I had reached a point where it was time to now go out and engage, that it was now time to start to connect, to collaborate, to co-create. This was in 2019. And I was so excited after years of being largely by myself, disconnected from friends and tribes, essentially broke, like just learning this. But as I went out, this time was very different. I won't go through all the details, but let's just say this time was about creation mode. What we tried to do in 2019, we are now moving forward with here in 2024 and 2025. Mm-hmm. But when I went out there, let's just say, sorry, certain details have to be left out because this is, but in regards to the future unions and stuff that are coming out, let's just say even in this dynamic, there was the true union configurations that we speak of that were not possible. Let's just say the lenses between them led to my life getting threatened, led to crazy, insane things. Me getting dragged out of buildings, people with guns up and down I won't even go through all the details. Mm-hmm. And as this, without me being aware of it, because all I operated was from my heart, I started magnetizing people all over the place within this few week period. People with a lot of money, multi-billionaires, people with like $70 million in a backpack cooking me dinner, trying to connect with me, trying to build with me. And every single time, I cannot even begin to express what stopped, blocked, or tried to interfere with this. And I was witnessing this. I was needing just to be aware and not feed into any of the intensity, but figure out how do we make a move forward. And over these couple weeks, every form of progression that would allow us to create in the ways that we are now, and even every form that would have brought me into the union alignment that we are now capable of, but would have been very dangerous at that time, especially without the training and embodiment that we now have and what's available on this planet. And it's one of those things that during this, I literally, after about a couple of weeks, I was like, I do not know what to do. Any step forward based off creation for the highest and greatest good of all is not capable to happen. I'd never seen something to this degree. A lot of opportunities for personal self, smaller stuff, not for what we have served and stand for every step of the way. So I took myself back. I made a small amount of money. It was the most money I'd had in years. And I decided to just treat myself and go get a hotel for a couple of days so I could rest in my own field, because I was about 15 hours away from home. And it's funny, this is a nickname I found out later on. They nicknamed it the Rainbow Bridge Motel, of course. And I was like, I'm just going to stay here for a couple of days. And I went in there, and that first day I was just praying and crying. And I was like, beloved God, like, I don't know what to do. I have been so devoted to this for many years, and now this is the time you said I could come out, and I have honored every person's request. I have held honor and integrity even when I do not agree with what they are doing. But I always stated that unless I knew that it was needed for all, I would not act on something, even if it's what I personally want or believe to be the case. So I cried, and I didn't know the answer. And let's just say this was part of the completion of that stage of initiation in my life. And it was that night, a series of our family came and visited me. I will not go into the details from this point on, but let's just say I could not leave that room. My physical body could not leave that room for about 46 days. And it was after that, coming out of that, that I was told we would now be focusing on the resurrection of the Christ feminine. And I was told that as well as the resurrection of the Melchizedek lineage and the integration of my Christ Melchizedek line. And that when I stepped out of here, nothing would ever be the same again from how I'd experienced this in life. And from this, at about a month of integration, a series of events happened, and me and Reza were brought together. So profound. And this blasted us off the last 5 years into the work that many of you are aware of, at least pieces of. Because we saw literally, like, even if you go through this, there were things that would stop anybody that truly had that core Christ seed ready to step out in their sovereignty and build for humanity.
Yeah, it had so much, again, as mentioned already, thrown at us to try to stop us, to try to shut us down, to try to break us down. And, you know, even through our own family, through warring of people turning against us or being turned against us in some way, shape, or form, playing into the wounding of, and certain things being amplified to create this conflict dynamic and projections and judgments and false stories shared about us. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and
on. I'm truly so grateful for my family that has supported us and supported me even when many years ago they thought I was crazy. So thank you, family, for also showing my family that there's many of us that are all speaking this. And so,
and even through these last 6 months, you know, even through this time period where I myself have been greatly offline because I really needed to just give space for my own processing of everything, because so much has been shifting and recalibrating and reconfiguring itself. And so even while I've been offline, just thank you to those of you who have reached out, who have been huge supporters, who have just showed up with so much love, just unconditionally, just being there in such beautiful ways. Thank you so much. It's meant the absolute world to me. It's actually helped me greatly through all that I've been processing through, especially through these last few months. And yeah, I just wanted to give a huge, huge thank you to each and every one of you who have seen me, truly seen me for who I truly am, and why I'm really here, what I'm actually doing, and why. And same goes for Ryan as well. It means the world to the both of us, because there's just so much, it's just been so easy to get caught up in the falsities of what isn't true and let that story run and play out.
So there's, as you can tell, there's so many different sides we'd love to go into, but just to try to make this clear and concise, the last 5 years was the process. Like I was saying, there were many things that were literally blocked. And this has been a big part of my incarnation. I'm sure many of you that have done or worked in similar ways have seen this yourself. This is what required us to be to be shown every piece that was going to be required to be addressed before this could actually happen in the proper alignments on this planet. And so as we progressed into this year, we always knew the build-up, solar year 2023, April 2023 to April 2024 would be one of the most profound years to set the foundation before what could systematically collapse as well as resurrect and come to life beginning between April 2024 and April 2025 and onward from that time. As we approached into this year, and as we created the templates to bring everything into full alignment, now that we were in the completion stage, it was beginning and sequencing to where the Azores was illuminated to us, and the Azores is when we completed the final Krystic Mission completion sequence that resolved over, or that completed over 500 highly covert Christos missions in particular that were directly related to what had now been accomplished. And this began the ignition sequence. September and October was a lot. In November, as things began to land, it felt like things are stabilizing. We felt like we had more clarity with certain things. And on November 11th was the first time that I was sanctioned to share that 6-hour update that's on my Facebook that it had included certain details that we have not been allowed to share publicly. After that process, after that recording, I went into an immense process, and Reza had returned for my birthday, and it was on that day that we had to sit down and had to go into this, and it was very clear that it was time for us to actually separate. We needed to separate before the sun transitioned into the next alchemical stage, because we live and embody the alchemy that we move through. And it is something that this is now restored onto this planet as of this year as well. And it is something that there's a lot to this in general. It is a very real science, and it is the original science of growth, education, and true ascension, based off of natural law and the aligned configurations that support your highest and greatest growth in a way that is aligned to the path of, or the timing of the progression on your pathway that most supports, serves, and honors you. So by embodying this, as we approached into November, it was very clear that we needed to separate before the sun started to transmit the alchemy of separation, stillness, and isolation. And it was also everything happened so fast. And it was something that from November on, especially getting into January 2nd, something major happened. And it has been one of the largest catalysts we have ever moved through. And all of this, as well as what I've been speaking of for many years, approaching not only 2024, but my 33rd birthday, which will be this upcoming November. And the work we've been doing have been accelerating our own embodiment templates, so we kind of help each other move through this in a little bit more of an accelerated way. And now we needed to integrate into our own sovereign pillars. Remember, Hyros Gamos is an internal process first and foremost. So the divine union you build to where you can, and then when you reach that point where that is completed, you step away to allow that to reorient, and the next union can come in until you both get to that highest point, if that is what's available for you in this lifetime. Now, during this process, though, there were a lot of things that started happening. Remember, this was something that needed to happen to allow the next stage to begin, because it was on that November 11th and that week of as well that, like Reza is saying, it was like between November 7th and November 11th, we actually began that bifurcation process. We began that ascent on the crystal spiral, the descent from the lower timelines. And so we've been moving through on this. Now, there are certain groups, very specific groups, and a very specific dark consciousness that we are finally getting to the point where we will be able to resolve this within this system. It's a big part of the Christ code encryptions, a big part of what's been going on here. It was a big part of the grand experiment that we've all moved through, and played a big role in the influence that generated and started the initial wars and all of this initial trauma. And during this, I won't go into all of the details with this now, but during this consciousness and the groups of men, women, and unions that had been compromised or infiltrated to varying levels of degrees all came in to try to begin to feed and create a falsified story that seemed unified and coherent, that was taking pieces that nobody else could see and taking pieces of this divine plan and this stage of the alchemy that was required for us and tried to weaponize that, to try to turn us into enemies against each other. Because remember, we always say, if you attack or fight, you will lose. And if you defend yourself, you will also lose. Sovereignty, the middle ground. This is how we win. We do not attack or defend. We do not fight. War no more. It is done. But with this, just like the shield splits and fragments that tried to hit Aeonic science, the shield splits that infection that turned Aeonic science and Lisa Renee and the energetic synthesis groups away from each other, all of the spiritual groups, all of our family, the groups, we've been turned against each other to think that you're the enemy, you're the one that did this. And instead of having the most powerful groups being like, hey, we've been through a lot. Yeah, you're not perfect, but you landed this, and I'm not perfect either, and I landed this. I can help you with this. Can you help me with this? This is how it's done. And by having us be like, you're the enemy, you're this, or having us be afraid of being judged and not being able to take accountability just to resolve things or provide remedy or whatever it is, has had us circling with each other and has had us just unaware of where we need to focus our attention, where we need to find the love and compassion for, so we can actually address the true memories and the true traumas in our body. Because now we're not putting it on someone else or bypassing it. We can actually connect with that of which is real and true, not the recreations that help trigger up but can't hit it at the core because it is not the real deal. Everything, once again, not new. This is when it's all true. And it's meant to be felt inside of me, you, we, all of us.
Even when Ryan and I have been turned against each other, at the end of the day, we remember, and this is us showing up and saying, hey, look, we are family. We are friends through and through and through, time and time again. We are not enemies.
And none of us have ever been each other's true enemy.
And through our family, through our brothers and sisters, through all of the communities, we are not enemies. We are family. We can be friends. And we can do that, because there are wounds, there is trauma, by showing up rather than abandoning and running away, and facing and acknowledging our peace. No longer blaming, fully claiming accountability.
And when we say accountability as well, this includes even when we are aware of other groups, gestalts, energy attacks, mind control, whatever it may be. We are still accountable for our actions.
Yes.
Because in our sovereignty, none of these things can truly affect us. But when we have the wounding, the trauma, the fear, the confusion,
the doubt,
when we're tired, when we feel sick, when we're not treating our bodies healthy, whatever it may be, these all leave back doors and access points. And so even though, yes, you might not have acted like that, it is something that when you act these things out, you are responsible for your words. You are responsible for your actions. And obviously our family does not hold you to the same level of responsibility as the ones that are directing and targeting to you. But just because they did that does not remove your requirement to take accountability, to establish remedy, and to begin to be aware of this, to address yourself or to seek help to get these things resolved and addressed so that they do not have to happen again.
Yeah. And speaking up to for what has occurred. That's a really big component to this as well. It's so important, especially now more than ever, for all of us to speak up, because it's time for certain things that have been causing harm, to come to an end. And that doesn't happen until we speak up and until we actually work to establish remedy through sovereign law, through claiming accountability and upholding accountability where it's due. And that is a process. Those are processes that are in full swing now more than ever.
And every one of us, it's our responsibility to take accountability for everything that we have done, no matter how seemingly small.
So even through this video, anything that I have ever done, anything that I have ever caused to any being or anyone, including myself, that may have caused harm in any way, shape, or form, I fully claim accountability for that. And may I bring forth remedy and provide through forgiveness, through love, and through resolution, so that we can heal these wounds of whatever that caused the impact from that, and therefore come back together as a family even stronger than before.
And I love how stronger than before has come forth, because this is actually beautifully what I was going to comment before you sharing that, is that I guess over the last 2 months in particular, as we approached the ending of this alchemical cycle before 2024, the alchemical year 2024 would truly begin, it was something that this reached peak intensity with this warfare and these attacks that came in. And because of certain timelines, and these things are insidious, I'm talking about, it starts to like strip away every magic, every memory, everything you have that is based in love and joy and truth, and then starts to play off of the little trauma or bits you have, and then try to focalize on unresolved parallel or past life dynamics that went dark, and then try to create an illusion that this is all that is, and you know that it's deeper, but the depth that they entrail as they erase everything else from it, like, it's nasty. And it was very shocking to the system, as this was especially hitting me, because there were certain timelines, just like you were saying, me and Reza are from two different lines, and and there were certain timelines and stuff that went on that I was already aware of, you're already addressing and resolving, but they were weaponized to be focalized to try to have me not only doubt myself, but to have me doubt Reza, our union, everything. And there are the pieces of gnosis I held in 2019 that could not have me doubt myself. And it was because of this I was able to stand on my 2 feet. Some of these things that were happening, like, this is why I have so much compassion for our family that fell into these traps and caused the division, because I now know fully from embodiment that this can actually happen through the most genuine desire to make sure that things are being held in highest alignment. And through this, the different councils, the different people that kept getting me into extreme polarization, I was feeling it collapse my internal Templar, and was like, okay, we just succeeded. We, as our planetary family and guardian teams, and are claiming the planet, but like, I won't be able to build anything at this point right now with my internal self without both of us being able to go through the necessary healing. And many people just saying, just let it go, don't resolve it, there's nothing to be resolved. And ultimately, me almost falling into that and always coming back, because I feel this distance. I'm like, I've never seen even the most fallen being on this planet as my enemy. I've never been scared in this way. Why am I feeling like this towards Reza? And telling people, like, hey, Like nobody, if Reza is truly on this covert mission, like I know it is, and we're here together, nobody will have these pieces. There's the pieces that I will have that she will not know. There are the pieces that she will have that I will not know. And there are the pieces that we both hold. And only we will really know our story and what has gone on. And it's until it's time to be revealed. And those of you that have played a role with us or have held down your sides to make this possible, we get to share and celebrate each other and be celebrated and honored for the work that we've done. But it was something that I held on with I have immense training with dark arts and black magic and this type of stuff. And so I just had to hold on, and I kept telling everyone, I was like, there's something that's not there. If this is true, I will accept that and we will move forward in the ways that are needed because I know how we will resolve this. But I was like, none of you will know this. And I was like, and until me and Reza can actually come back together, because we hadn't been able to see each other in person for months, until we can actually sit down and I can ask the proper questions, she can ask me the proper questions, and I can hear her speak her truth, her gnosis. I can receive that. I can verify it through my own channels, but I can feel it somatically in my heart and body. Something that like it's just pure truth. And immediately I was so shocked because I cannot explain. Like I had never been through a lot, and this nothing had been able to impact me in these ways. And there were things that we both did that hurt each other, but in my protection and defense for our records, for our mission, for our work, like I took this very seriously. This thing is not a joking matter. And the way I went about certain things. I mean, some of you know, many of you don't, but I'm just saying, like, I'm really sorry, Chris. These last couple months really, I almost collapsed some things. And we both almost fed into it to play that role in collapsing, because it's not just one-sided. But neither one of us ever deviated out of that honor and integrity. Both of us felt like in those moments we were protecting from each other of what was happening.
We both thought we were doing the right thing, and we didn't realize that we were literally pitted against each other. And
you're trying to rob my best friend from me and make her think she's my enemy. When I haven't even conceptualized the concept of an enemy. And somehow this stuff made me almost believe it was true.
And it hurt me so deeply after, this deep bond and connection that I have with you, with Ryan. It hurt a lot. It was a lot to process over these last few months until
pretty much March and April, building up until just this last
until we finally could come back together physically and realize the lies, what had been weaponized, what had been fed into, how this turned us against each other, and snapped out of it and came back home to ourselves and to each other.
Like so fast, like an illusion just being lifted. Like, how could we have ever believed or seen this?
And realizing just yet again the bigger picture of all of this and how it all plays out and how easily it is really to go into that warring dynamic, how easy it has been to pit us against them time and time and time again. And that this time, really, it's time to stop playing into that game. And the way we do that is by really paying attention, listening, and feeling where the heart is in every action and word being shared, expressed, and spoken. Because the heart, that resonance, is what is true. And it can be felt. If it is there, it can be felt. And if it isn't there, that's where you've got to ask more questions. And so we're here We made it through this crazy alchemical experience and journey and all these challenges and initiations. And wow, have we learned so much.
I mean, literally, because that whole thing wasn't even expecting to come out. It all started on the point of we are stronger now than before.
It's
Like,
true though.
and it's so funny because literally,
We've learned
and
so much.
and and it's so funny because like it is interesting this is still coming up because the last couple times we did try to, as time would go on, we're like, we need to create a video and put it out.
Yeah.
Like it was at different energies, and like there were times like the last one was like this, but Ryan, we can't put this out. I'm like, oh, just do it, because I was like, we were sharing, but I was like looking through the screen at those of you that are actually some of you that are still probably going to watch this, looking at you now. Yeah, but I was like, boom, like because we've been tracking you. We've just, and we do want to let you know because those ones were a lot more intense because it wasn't as much just talking to you, fam, that are like here, there it was, but like there have been some very specific things that are extraordinary trespasses and violations. Mm-hmm. And at first I thought I was just going to have to defend Reza and other women, and as I witnessed certain things, and this is just from this life, we have these individuals are going to be like dominoes and pillars, because some of these ones we will be addressing in very specific ways. I've already dropped little hints and clues about this. It's already begun. But I will say through this, it's amazing. Like it brought us together in a new way, like stronger than ever coming through this. And we still have our own healing and stuff, and still have our own karmic actions and liabilities from the way we acted through this, because we're trained in it. We hold the responsibility to not let these things come through and to track them before they cause an issue. But this was on a whole other level. And not only did it bring us together, it also started to illuminate the core infection points in Krystic shield splits, the solar shield splits, that have actually been part of the reason why all of our family that are here to do the big work have not come together in unity yet. So we have now tracked that. On top of that, this brought together an opportunity for our Phoenix tribe to begin to witness a live recreation of the same attack, target, and infection points that happened to split the tribes before. And so every single person that went through our initiation school got a live example, and those that stood in their hearts, those that were unconditionally loving, holding the field, have been initiated into a level of embodiment and strength that is only just starting to come together. And it's something, because our tribe, we stand together in love and unity. We'll help every one of our family that's ready to take accountability and ready to just to be who they are. We will provide the protection, the support, the resources, and everything that is needed. And
we all do this for each other.
And this is
we
a big.
all do this for each other. All do this for each other.
Yes, this is a big part. Just like the Keylontic shield split that happened with the first seedings of these Ascension mechanics and the of this caliber and the infiltrations that ran through our side this time around, we've been working for this for what's happening here and now. So this tried to come in to create an internal fracture to try to stop our team from completing the last sequence, our Phoenix tribe, that we have waited 1 year to run this last sequence, and now it can happen. And was trying to stop the momentum for what will happen with the Solar Union Temple and what we as a family are able to start doing from this point onward, and to try to stop the actual ability to create physically and bring forth the systems, structures, and everything that is needed, while equally in the year, especially on my side, turning 33, this is when I am meant to no longer be in the same behind the scenes like I have been, even though I have engaged in certain ways. Like this has been the revealing, this has been the unveiling. And it's been to try to doubt our work, to doubt the Christ lines and missions, to be able to actually just defame. And this is why even some of the articles we mentioned earlier, some of the others, this is going on many levels, because this is the point. They do not want us to come together because we have more power, resources, access, and support now, even if you can't see it yet, than we have had in a very, very, very long time. And it's something that, even throughout all of this, it wasn't even just our tribes. There were other individuals, because we now know how deeply this infection is running throughout all of our community. We have other, like, beautiful divine feminine sisters and other beautiful brothers. But a lot of this is a lot of the divine feminine, a lot of you sisters that are stepping into incredible growth, because we have succeeded with resurrecting the Christ feminine templates, and it is coming alive in all of us. But there are those of us that actually we got brought together. We got strengthened in our abilities, our discernment, our trust, and our counsel. Like, there are certain ones of us that couldn't come together in years that just came together, or certain ones of us that were brought together earlier in this year that were also feeding these infectious lies, but high level psychics that were very accurate. Some not from our lines, others directly from our family lines. And it showed how much fragmentation and trust, how much there's just so many things that I'll probably do a breakdown on this later. But there were points where, saying like, hey, I trust you, but are you open to trust that I feel that on this side there's something here? Will you not even look at that? Are you so sure you're correct? And because of the depth and complexity of these false timeline insertions, because of the depth of the webbing of this specific group and energy that has leaked into many, many groups and has taken down so many of like the highest level guardians and Christos lines, like full takedown. This is why we've been needing to address this. And it's been incredible because it almost turned many of us against each other individually. However, as we started to figure this out, and especially as of a little over a week ago, when the first full conversation, we were able to break through some of these things were stopping. I could finally feel, I was like, boom, 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 boom. And because I only work off that of which I know, that of which I feel, and what I've experienced. So I was able to then take this to some other sisters that I trust fully, and I was trying to figure out why they couldn't see the other sides. We identified the specific infection points, and we're like, we need you to look at every memory you had before this and after. And sure enough, finally, after, I'm talking about like a full year with many of these people, look at it again, look at it again, look at it again. Coming back very confident, me having to reassess and reorient to see what's going on, and then slowly getting polarized more and more as all the evidence, because I go off of innocent until proven guilty. And we're not here to punish, we just want to make sure no harm is caused, whether consciously or unconsciously. And sure enough, once we first connected, before being able to come back in person in our temple space, I could already feel it. That's when I started being like, something is, you need to go back in. I know it's been a handful of months, you need to go back into that, look inside and out. And then as soon as we come together, and it was showing even deeper, like clockwork, multiple have begun to actually find these false records that have tried to weaponize us, and it's with many others. We're just giving an example of the target towards us because of our work and what we hold. And unlike other groups that had that fracture, like, I'm so blessed that you are who you are, Reza, and that I am who I am, and that our family is here with us, and for each and every one of you that have supported us and held that field and had our backs, just like we have had yours in every way that we can. So just
this is also why it's so important, if you can, get out of your own way of what you think you know. Because if you can be open to potentially expanding from that when something comes in, to potentially question or challenge what you know, that is such a gift. That is an opportunity for huge growth if you are willing and open to go back in and look at what that is. I know so many of us can get caught up in, I know this, and sometimes it turns into an entire identity, that this has become our identity, our life, and it's so hard because now we've grown so attached to this. And so it can be really difficult to, when something comes in that can potentially challenge that entire belief system and that entire reality that has become that identity, from what you have believed to be true. or how this works. It can be very disorienting. It can definitely bring up a lot of emotions. But if you can be willing to continually be ready to let it go so that you can be open to more of what actually could be, to the bigger picture that's continually growing and growing and growing, because more is always being revealed as we continue this journey. That is really where you will find the gold each and every time. That is where we will be able to figure it out. It's through being willing to look and face and reassess. And maybe this is what I understood up until now. And now it's time to go back and look and be like, actually, now I see it this way. Oh, now this actually makes sense to be like this. And I'm open to an even greater understanding. And that is where incredible growth can occur. And so when we can do that, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what title you go by, it doesn't matter how much you've cultivated. All of us could do this, get out of our own way, so that we can actually discover what is true and the bigger picture to what is, what has, and what will be. And this is how, if we can do that, this is how we truly can navigate in such a much more graceful way, and where so much will be learned, and much more quickly too, from these experiences that we are having. Yes. And with each other.
Beautifully shared.
So
with everything that's happened, we just want to say thank you to those of you that supported us, as well as thank you to those of you that tried to attack us. Just thank you so much. You taught us a valuable lesson. Everything I speak of and that we speak of comes from embodied gnosis. We have the memories of these shield splits, and we've felt these attacks not directly in these ways, many generally from other forces, but it's very interesting to see the incarnational embodiments of those that have chosen to embody the path of the light or the dark. And it's amazing for us to be the alchemists that walk the middle path to synthesize these into just the eternally unified field where all that is real and true and pure and eternal and original can be given the space to thrive.
So that brings us to the final piece here that we wanted to share about, which is in regards to the Solar Union Ascension Temple and what this really is. Because we do feel we need to bring clarity to this, so that everyone can really understand what this actually is and what it's for, and how it was built.
Yes. So because so much of the work has been years building up to when we ever stepped out on Facebook about any of this, and even throughout this, we've maybe shared less than 1% of what we've really been involved with or what's gone on with these things. So we understand how easy it can be for those of you that have viewed the Solar Union Ascension Temple and our container as being held by the union that Reza and I held. And, because this is the case with many unions and stuff, they're holding through their divine union field. Now, once again, because of the missions, because of the covert side, because we know what actually has been going on, and we knew what it would require to work around this, the Solar Union Ascension Temple actually has nothing to do with our union. It was the foundational support that held us, that supported us in our union, and that created a safe zone for our higher selves and our high Christ lines and teams to work with us. It became an advanced, I can't share everything about this right now. Let's just say that this is something that was actually able to be, this was something that was actually able to be an honorable backdoor installation to the planetary grid that they were trying to utilize to collapse the planet and pull us into a phase lock. These keys were given, coordinates were given to create a gateway. Our Christ teams and Guardian lines showed me exactly what needed to happen throughout 1 year. When these militarized groups wanted the gateways and keys back, sorry, you gave us the right through your consent, and we see the harm that is being caused. We will choose to keep these keys as a guardian of this space if you choose to try to do harm against the planet and the human race, or any life. Now, throughout this, there's a lot to this. Let's just say this temple has had thousands of hours physically with many different individuals. It has had things all over the world, all of the core planetary gate sites, Templar sites, everything is connected into this physical temple. Even the land for this was consecrated over a millennia ago from the indigenous, from the tribes that knew would be there. This temple in itself, this solar gateway, this solar unification gateway is something that actually, it's not even something that we created or that I created. This is extremely ancient, very advanced, like primordial level temples of creation. You cannot just destroy these. You cannot just get rid of them. They are a living consciousness. They are co-creation. They just needed an anchor point to be able to begin to connect and begin the reconnections to provide the support. And not only support in our union and holding that and building the foundational template for Hyros Gamos so that this could be restored and be ignited into the planetary grids. But outside of like just our union, there's a lot of other things that go into this. We'll just leave it like that. This is something that like is meant to be here as a key point of, just like the other Magi technology, Melchizedek technology, Christed technology, the different lines and lineages, technology seeded by the through Mu and the priests of Ur, and like these different groups that brought in all the different pieces for us to connect back together. This is a huge supporting piece. It is something that is meant to be a meeting space, a unifying container that gives us all access to begin to work together in a supportive field, just like a big temple, or let's say, here in the United States, if people are trying to go to, capital, they go to DC and everybody's in that area where that's where they work in the specific buildings and stuff. This is a very sacred temple. And it is something that we are really only going to start witnessing its true magic and power and presence starting this August of 2024 and moving onward from this point. And this also holds a supporting field, just like supporting field, just like other temples or pyramids used to, you know what I mean, to kind of hold the frequency of this, holds a supporting field, a specific resurrection technology that actually supports in accelerated bioevolutionary like transformation or transfiguration, so that we can actually hold the necessary frequency accretion levels even with the dissonance around without destabilizing the grids, but supporting in the full higher monad and crystalline avatar and higher levels of consciousness, connection, and embodiment. So this is something that had to be built. It represented every galactic and planetary body being unified through the center point. It was built with a shield of Solomon and the Unity Star. It was something that this took 1 year to complete, and from 2017 to 2018. And then in 2019, after my 46-day process, me and Reza came together. And upon coming together, we began to build out the next layers of that. There's a lot that happened with this. And in fact, it was a big part of there's a lot of the history and details that aren't meant to be shared on this video right now. But all we want to say is that this temple was co-founded and created at the layers that we needed to continue by both Reza and myself and our teams and very specific pillars and individuals that worked with us, as well as our Phoenix tribe that helped secure and reinforce and build this foundation that could house and support all of us. So for those of you that had reached out, thinking that this was based off of our union and that this would be being collapsed based off of our union. This was part of the infection running through the collective field. This was part of the infection to try to have us doubt and break down one of the most sacred and important structures that we have been blessed to be part of developing and re-anchoring to this planet right in the final moments when this is truly coming online. So,
Yeah.
and coming, I should say, it's coming alive in the planet, and it's here to help stabilize and support the field. So, without going too much into all of this, this is something that in this transition, there are architecture and or infrastructure that is based off of our union that is going through internal corrections and calibrations to support the new foundation and the unified front. It is amazing to witness the beautiful divine sisters and brothers that are coming in, looking at the collaboration and co-collaboration opportunities moving onward for this. And we are looking into the proper transition period, as there is much that Reza and I each have to bring forth. And as my entire life being based around unity, it's time for us as family that are in the hearts that have passed the initiations to begin to learn to trust and to see, really get to discover the true power that we wield, because this will only be seen in unity. And it is no longer one or two or even just three. We need larger numbers of our family that are ready for this and know that it is time now.
Yes. So, with that, there are so many incredible things in store to come.
So much magic.
So much that's going to be created and brought forth, from Ryan, from myself, from all of you too, our family. We're so excited to see what you're cultivating and bringing forth. So that all of us can continue with this epic magic and more collaborations together is the way.
It's the way. Unity is the way, baby.
Yeah, so just thank you so much for being with us through this video. Thank you for receiving all that we've shared. We love you so much. So, 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 so much. Just so much gratitude. And as we connected through our hearts at the beginning of this video, we connect to our hearts again. And may we just breathe in and out together as one family through our hearts to fully seal, close, complete, and activate this field.
Reignite all the codes, all the realizations. And just like the magic is coming forth, we remind ourselves that this chaptara on the world stage and in this creational system is being titled by our guardian teams as angels walk among us and magic returns upon the lands. So may we begin to see purely what is inside of all of we. Gold, violet, and blue, we activate the emerald and sapphire star deep inside of your higher heart to ring the unified bell of freedom and all that is true. Through and through, we and you, to all of our family. May this be the time that we get to rise into the totality of all that we are, that we get to sing, to dance, to play, to remember our origins through the suns, through the stars, and to find our beloveds, to find our tribe, and to remember how to trust once again and to truly unify.
Breathing in. So much love And I am greatly looking forward to all that shall unfold from here on out.
Beloveds, I love you so much. We love you so much. And we're so proud of each and every one of you, each and every one of us. Like, literally, after millennia and aeons of craziness, we made it. And I know things might seem the same right now to the eyes. Promise you, we are in something so different than you may realize. So we're excited to be part of the discovery and witnessing of this sacred adventure, the grand mystery, and this divine plan. And I'm really excited to connect more with you as family and to share the medicine and co-creations that are here for us all from this time onward. Much love, family. Sending you eternal aloha. May we connect.